She texts the billionaire, CEO, by mistake. Minutes later, black cars surround her house. Lily Thompson stared at her laptop screen, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she typed out a message to her best friend, Sarah. The soft glow of her desk lamp illuminated the cramped dorm room, casting shadows on the motivational posters that covered the walls. "I know it's a long shot," she typed, "but I really need this internship. Dad's medical bills are piling up, and the coffee shop job barely covers my textbooks. I've spent 3 hours perfecting this application, and I still feel like my qualifications are nowhere near what they're looking for. But I have to try, right?" She hit send without double-checking the recipient, then reached for her lukewarm coffee. The bitter taste matched her mood as she contemplated her dwindling bank account. A ping from her laptop drew her attention back to the screen. Her heart stopped. The blood drained from her face as she read the recipient's name. Maxwell Hartley, CEO. "No, no, no," she muttered, frantically clicking through her contacts. Somehow she'd accidentally selected Max Hartley's email address instead of Sarah's. Her hands trembled as she realized she'd just sent her personal struggles and self-doubts to one of the most powerful CEOs in the country. "This can't be happening," Lily groaned, dropping her head into her hands. The worn cushion of her desk chair offered little comfort as her mind raced through all the horrifying implications. She'd found his email address while researching companies for potential internships, and now she'd gone and made herself look completely unprofessional. Another ping made her jump. Her heart pounding, she peeked through her fingers at the screen. A new email from Maxwell Hartley. "This is it," she whispered to herself. "This is how I die of embarrassment." Taking a deep breath, she clicked on the message. "Dear Lily, your candid message caught my attention. While unconventional, your honesty is refreshing. I see you're a student at Berkeley's business school. Your determination to overcome personal challenges while pursuing your education speaks volumes about your character. I have an immediate opening for a junior analyst position in our strategic planning department. The role comes with full benefits and flexible hours to accommodate your studies. If you're interested, send your resume to HR, copied, and we'll fast-track your application. Best regards, Maxwell Hartley, CEO, Hartley Industries." Lily read the email 3 times, then burst out laughing. "Nice try, Sarah," she said aloud, reaching for her phone to text her friend. "Creating a fake email account to mess with me is pretty elaborate, even for you." She was halfway through typing her message when another email arrived. This one was from Hartley Industries' HR department, containing detailed information about the position and scheduling an interview. Lily's phone slipped from her suddenly numb fingers onto her laptop keyboard. She quickly pulled up the email headers, checking for any signs this was a prank. But everything looked legitimate. The corporate domain, the routing information, even the signature block with its official company disclaimer. "Oh my God," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of her ancient mini-fridge. "This is real." Her hands shaking slightly, she opened Maxwell Hartley's email again. The words remained unchanged, professional, yet somehow warm. She noticed details she'd missed in her initial shock, how he'd taken the time to look up her school, the way he'd acknowledged her situation without pity, the immediate practical solution he'd offered. The screen blurred as tears welled up in her eyes. After months of rejections and unanswered applications, after watching her savings dwindle and her father's medical bills mount, could this mortifying mistake actually turn into something good? Her cursor hovered over the HR department's email. The position offered more than twice what she made at the coffee shop, with benefits that could help with her father's healthcare costs. It seemed impossible, too good to be true, and yet the evidence was right there on her screen. Taking a deep breath, Lily opened her resume file. Whatever twist of fate had led to this moment, she wasn't going to waste it. Lily pulled up Maxwell Hartley's company profile on her browser, her eyes widening at the string of achievements and business successes attached to his name. At 32, he'd already transformed his family's regional business into a global powerhouse. The corporate website showed a photograph of him at a charity gala, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and a smile that seemed to hold secrets. "This has to be legitimate," she murmured, cross-referencing the email address with the company's official contact information. Everything matched perfectly. She clicked through news articles, investor reports, and social media posts, building a clearer picture of the man who'd just offered her a job. Her roommate Jenny walked in, dropping her backpack by the door. "What's got you so focused? I thought you were done with applications for today." "Something incredible just happened," Lily said, swiveling her chair to face her friend. "But I need you to tell me if I'm crazy." She explained the accidental email and showed Jenny the response. Jenny leaned over her shoulder, scanning the exchange. "Wait, the Maxwell Hartley? The one who donated that new wing to the business school?" She whistled low. "This is his actual email?" "I've triple-checked everything," Lily said, running her fingers through her curly hair. "The domain, the headers, his signature, it all checks out. But why would someone like him personally respond to a misdirected email?" "Maybe he likes taking chances on people," Jenny suggested, flopping onto her bed. "Or maybe he was just bored in some meeting and your email made him laugh." Lily turned back to her laptop, biting her lip. Should I reply? What if this is some elaborate scam? "From the official company email address? That'd be pretty sophisticated," Jenny pointed out. "What do you have to lose?" Taking a deep breath, Lily began typing. "Dear Mr. Hartley, thank you for your unexpected but generous response. I admit I was mortified when I realized my message went to you instead of my friend. But I'm grateful for your consideration. I would be very interested in learning more about the position you mentioned. I've attached my resume for your review. While I may not have extensive corporate experience, I'm a quick learner and dedicated worker. Best regards, Lily Thompson." She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Within minutes, her laptop chimed with a new message. "Lily, thank you for your prompt response. I appreciate directness, and your accidental email showed exactly that quality. I'd like to discuss this opportunity with you personally via video call. Would you be available tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time? Sometimes the best opportunities come from unexpected places. I look forward to our conversation. Best, Max Hartley." "He wants to video chat," Lily said, her voice rising slightly in panic. "Tomorrow." Jenny sat up, grinning. "Well, that settles it. Definitely not a scam. Scammers don't do face-to-face." Lily smoothed her hair nervously, glancing at her reflection in her laptop screen. "What do I even wear? What do I say?" "Say yes first, panic later," Jenny advised. With trembling fingers, Lily typed a brief response, accepting the meeting and confirming the time. As soon as she sent it, the reality of what was happening hit her full force. Tomorrow she would be face-to-face with one of the most successful young CEOs in the country, all because of a misdirected email. Lily adjusted her blazer for the 10th time, grateful she'd borrowed it from Jenny. Her laptop was positioned perfectly on her desk, with a neat backdrop of her organized bookshelf behind her. 2 minutes before the scheduled time, the video chat request came through. Taking a deep breath, she clicked accept. Maxwell Hartley's face filled her screen. His professional headshot hadn't done him justice. Dark eyebrows framed intense brown eyes, and his smile was warm and genuine. He sat in what appeared to be a corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows revealing a stunning city view behind him. "Lily Thompson," he said, his voice rich and confident. "Thank you for meeting with me. I hope I haven't completely disrupted your day." "Not at all, Mr. Hartley," she replied, willing her voice to stay steady. "I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me." "Please, call me Max." He leaned forward slightly. "I'll be direct. Your accidental email caught my attention because it showed something rare, authentic passion. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You were simply expressing your genuine desire to work and contribute." Lily felt her cheeks warm. It wasn't exactly my most professional moment. Sometimes the most honest moments aren't professional ones. He shuffled some papers on his desk. "I've reviewed your resume. Your academic record is impressive, but what interests me more is your work with the student newspaper and the business club. You're a self-starter." "I believe in making the most of opportunities," Lily said, gaining confidence. "Though I have to admit, I'm still not entirely sure what position you're considering me for." Max's eyes sparkled with interest. "I need an executive assistant who thinks outside the box, someone who can anticipate needs before they arise and isn't afraid to speak up when something's wrong. The position would involve managing my schedule, coordinating with our international offices, and helping me streamline our charitable foundation's operations." He named a salary that made Lily's eyes widen. It was 3 times what she'd expected for her first job out of college. "That's very generous," she managed. "It's a demanding role," Max continued. "You'd need to relocate to Seattle, and the hours can be unpredictable. But you'd be working directly with our senior management team, gaining experience that would typically take years to acquire." Lily sat up straighter. "What makes you think I'm qualified for this? There must be hundreds of candidates with more experience." "Experience can be gained," Max said, folding his hands. "What can't be taught is initiative and genuine character. Your accidental email showed both. You were honest about the mistake and handled it with grace. That's exactly the kind of person I want working with me." He paused, studying her reaction. "I'm offering you a 3-month trial period. If it works out, the position becomes permanent. If not, I'll provide you with excellent references and help you find another position. No risk, just opportunity." Lily felt her heart racing. This was so far beyond what she'd imagined for her first job. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "I'd need 2 weeks to wrap up my semester," she said carefully, "and to find housing in Seattle." "We'll provide temporary housing for your first month," Max replied smoothly. "Take the time you need to finish your studies properly. Do you have any other questions?" Lily had dozens, but one stood out. "Why take this chance on a complete stranger?" Max's expression softened slightly. "Sometimes you just know when something's right. I've built my career on trusting my instincts." He paused. "What do your instincts tell you about this opportunity?" Despite her nervousness, Lily felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. "They're telling me to say yes." "Then trust them," Max said with a warm smile. "Shall we make it official?" Lily took a deep breath and nodded. "Yes, I accept your offer." Scene 1. Learning the ropes. Lily stepped into the gleaming lobby of Hartley Industries, clutching her new security badge. The marble floors and soaring glass walls made her feel tiny in her sensible navy suit. Employees rushed past her, absorbed in their phones, or engaged in rapid-fire conversations about meetings and deadlines. A familiar voice cut through the morning bustle. "Good morning, Lily." She turned to see Max striding toward her, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit. Despite his commanding presence, his smile was warm and reassuring. "I thought I'd show you around myself," he said, gesturing toward the elevator. "Your first day is important." Inside the elevator, Max pressed the button for the top floor. "Nervous?" "That obvious?" Lily asked, smoothing her skirt. "Everyone is on their first day," he said. "I still remember mine. I was so eager to prove myself that I spilled coffee all over my father's desk. The elevator opened directly into a sleek reception area. Max led her through a series of modern workspaces, introducing her to key team members. Everyone seemed surprised to see the CIO personally conducting the tour, but Max appeared completely at ease. "This is your desk," he said, stopping at a workspace just outside his office. "You'll have direct access to me, and you can see who's coming and going." He showed her how to log into the computer system, explaining the various software they used. "It's a lot to take in," Lily admitted, scribbling notes. "Don't worry about memorizing everything today," Max said. "Focus on understanding the workflow." He pulled up a calendar on her screen. "This is probably the most important tool you'll use. My schedule changes constantly, and you'll need to keep track of it all." Throughout the morning, Max patiently walked her through his typical day. He showed her how to prioritize emails, which meetings could be rescheduled, and which clients needed immediate attention. "The key is to think 3 steps ahead," he explained, leaning against her desk. "For example, if I have a meeting in Tokyo next week, what needs to happen?" Lily thought for a moment. "Flight arrangements, hotel booking, preparing briefing materials." She paused. "And probably adjusting your schedule for the time difference the day before and after?" Max's eyes lit up. "Exactly. That's the kind of forward thinking we need." During lunch, which Max had ordered for them both, he reviewed more specific responsibilities. Lily found herself relaxing as they talked, impressed by how easily he broke down complex tasks into manageable steps. "I have a conference call in 10 minutes, Max said, checking his watch. "Why don't you sit in? It'll give you a good idea of how we handle international clients." During the call, Lily took detailed notes, occasionally catching Max's approving glances when she anticipated his needs, pulling up relevant documents before he asked for them. After the call ended, Max turned to her. "You picked up on things quickly in there. Most people take weeks to develop that level of attention to detail." "I just tried to think about what information you might need," Lily said. "That's exactly the kind of intuition this job requires." Max studied her thoughtfully. "You know, when I first got that accidental text, I had a feeling about you. Your responses showed intelligence and quick thinking. Now, seeing you in action, I'm even more convinced I made the right choice." He stood up, straightening his jacket. "I think you're going to do exceptionally well here, Lily, and I look forward to helping you develop your potential. This isn't just about being an assistant. It's about learning how this business works from the ground up." Chapter 4. First Day Scene 2. Lunch Revelations. The small Italian restaurant was tucked away on a quiet street, just a few blocks from the office. Lily watched as Max expertly ordered for them both in fluent Italian, the waiter nodding with obvious familiarity. "You come here often?" Lily asked, admiring the cozy atmosphere with its exposed brick walls and soft lighting. "It's one of my favorite spots," Max replied, loosening his tie slightly. "Sometimes I need to escape the corporate atmosphere, you know? Here, I can just be myself." Their appetizers arrived, fresh bruschetta with perfectly ripe tomatoes. As they began to eat, the formal work dynamic slowly melted away. "So," Max said, breaking off a piece of crusty bread, "what made you choose business as your major?" "My dad, actually. He owned a small hardware store," Lily explained, smiling at the memory. "I grew up watching him manage everything. Inventory, customers, employees. I loved how he knew everyone's name, their kids' names, their stories." Max nodded thoughtfully. "That's real business, the human connection. Something my father never quite understood." His expression darkened slightly. "And your family?" Lily asked carefully, noting the change in his demeanor. "Are they all in business too?" Max was quiet for a moment, swirling the water in his glass. "The Hartley name has been associated with business for generations. It's complicated." He paused as their main courses arrived. Handmade pasta for her, grilled sea bass for him. My father built this empire, he continued after the waiter left. But sometimes I wonder at what cost. His fork pushed absently at his food. We used to be closer before. Before? Lily prompted gently. Max set down his fork and met her eyes. Before my sister disappeared 5 years ago. The bustling restaurant seemed to grow quieter around them. Lily could see the pain etched in Max's features, carefully hidden behind his usual confident facade. Sarah was always the rebel in the family, he said, his voice softer now. She was investigating something about our father's business dealings. Then one day she just vanished. He took a sip of water, collecting himself. The police found her car at the airport, but there was no record of her boarding any flights. That's terrible, Lily said, her heart aching for him. Was there any trace? The official investigation went cold, Max replied, but I've never stopped looking. He leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. 3 months ago, I received an anonymous email. Just a photo. Sarah in what looked like a cafe somewhere in Europe. The timestamp showed it was taken recently. Lily's eyes widened. So she might be alive? I believe she is. Max straightened up, his professional demeanor returning like a shield. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to burden you with family drama on your first day. No, it's... Lily started, but caught herself. Despite feeling drawn into his story, she reminded herself that he was still her boss, and this was still her first day. Thank you for trusting me enough to share that. Max nodded, seeming to appreciate her professional response. The rest of lunch focused on safer topics, office procedures, upcoming projects, and company policies. But Lily couldn't help noticing how Max's gaze occasionally drifted to the window, as if searching for something, or someone, in the distance. Scene 1. Late night research. Lily was just settling into her evening routine, a mug of chamomile tea warming her hands, when her phone buzzed. Max's name flashed across the screen. Her heart skipped. It was nearly 9 p.m. Hello? She answered, trying to keep her voice steady. Lily, I apologize for calling so late. Max's voice was tense, lacking its usual polish. I need your help with something. Unofficial. She sat up straighter, setting her tea aside. What kind of help? It's about Sarah. There was a pause, filled with the sound of shuffling papers. I've been going through some old files, and I found something. Would you be willing to come to the office? I know it's late, but... Lily glanced at her comfortable pajamas and half-finished tea. This definitely wasn't in her job description. Mr. Hartley. Max, he corrected softly. Please, this isn't about work. She chewed her lip, considering. Is it urgent? Yes and no, He sighed. I trust your judgment, Lily. And right now, I need someone I can trust. 20 minutes later, Lily found herself in the elevator heading to the top floor of Hartley Tower. The building was eerily quiet at night, her footsteps echoing on the marble floors. Max's office door was ajar, warm light spilling into the darkened hallway. She found him surrounded by stacks of papers, his usually immaculate desk in complete disarray. His tie was loosened, sleeves rolled up, and his hair showed signs of running his hands through it repeatedly. Thank you for coming, he said, looking up. I know this is strange. It's definitely not in my employee handbook, she tried to joke, but his serious expression made her smile fade. What did you find? Max held up a folder. These are financial records from the quarter before Sarah disappeared. She was looking into some irregularities in our overseas accounts. He spread several documents across his desk. Look at these transactions. Lily moved closer, studying the numbers. These are Substantial transfers. To shell companies, Max added. Sarah flagged them, but the internal audit team cleared everything. He ran a hand through his hair again. 3 days later, she vanished. Lily's skin prickled. You think these are connected? I need help connecting the dots. Max met her eyes. You have fresh eyes, no preconceptions. Will you help me? Lily hesitated. This felt bigger than she was prepared for, but the pain in Max's eyes was impossible to ignore. I'll help, she said finally, but I need to know what we're dealing with. They spent the next hour organizing documents chronologically. Lily created a spreadsheet, tracking the suspicious transactions. As patterns emerged, her unease grew. Max, she said slowly, these companies, they all trace back to the same address in Geneva. He leaned over her shoulder to look at her laptop screen. What else? The timing of these transfers, they align perfectly with major policy changes in your father's company. Each time the board voted on something significant. Money moved, Max finished. He grabbed another folder, flipping through it frantically. Here, the week Sarah disappeared, there was a board meeting about expanding into Eastern Europe. Lily pulled up the corresponding financial records. And another massive transfer to the Geneva account. She looked up at Max, whose face had gone pale. Your sister wasn't just looking into random financial irregularities, was she? No, Max said quietly, staring at the documents spread before them. She was uncovering something much bigger. Something about our father. The implications hung heavy in the air between them. What had Sarah discovered? And more importantly, what had happened to her because of it? Chapter 6. Unexpected protection. Lily slumped onto her small apartment's worn couch, kicking off her heels with a sigh of relief. The day's revelations about Max's sister and the suspicious financial records weighed heavily on her mind. She'd spent hours after work researching shell companies and corporate structures, trying to make sense of it all. Her microwave dinner sat half-eaten on the coffee table as she scrolled through her phone, reading articles about the Hartley family from around the time of Sarah's disappearance. The streetlight outside cast long shadows through her living room window. A flash of movement caught her eye. Lily stood up, moving closer to the window. 2 black SUVs with tinted windows pulled up smoothly in front of her building. Her heart began to race as men in dark suits stepped out, their postures alert and professional. What the? She muttered, backing away from the window. These weren't ordinary security guards. They moved with military precision, speaking into earpieces and scanning the area methodically. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made her freeze. A firm knock echoed through her apartment. Ms. Cooper? A deep voice called. This is Thompson from Hartley Security. We're here for your protection. Lily's hands trembled as she reached for her phone. Protection? From what? Before she could dial anyone, her phone lit up with Max's caller ID. Max? She answered, her voice shaky. There are men outside my... I know, I'm so sorry about this, he cut in, his voice tight with concern. I should have warned you earlier, but things developed quickly. Please let them in. They're here to keep you safe. Lily peered through her peephole. 2 men in suits stood waiting patiently, their stances professional but non-threatening. Safe from what exactly? Max sighed heavily. After you left tonight, I did some more digging. The people involved in those transactions we uncovered, they're dangerous, Lily. When Sarah started asking questions, he trailed off. You think they might... Lily couldn't finish the sentence. I'm not taking any chances, Max said firmly. Not again. Not with you. The security team will maintain a discreet presence. They'll escort you to and from work, monitor your building. Lily pressed her forehead against the cool wall beside her door. This is crazy, Max. Yesterday I was just your employee, And now I have a security detail? You became involved the moment you helped me look into those files, Max explained, his voice softening. I never should have pulled you into this. But now that you know about the irregularities, about Sarah, I need to ensure your safety. Another knock. Ms. Cooper, we need to secure the premises. They're not going away until I let them in, are they? Lily asked Max. No, he admitted. I know this is overwhelming, but please trust me. I wouldn't do this if I didn't think it was absolutely necessary. Lily's hand hovered over the door lock. Her ordinary life had transformed into something unrecognizable in just a few short days. How long will this last? Until we figure out what happened to Sarah and who's behind those transactions, Max replied. I'm so sorry, Lily. I never meant for any of this to touch you. With a deep breath, Lily unlocked her door, coming face to face with the security team. They looked even more intimidating up close, but their eyes were respectful, professional. Okay, she said into the phone, watching as the men began a methodical sweep of her apartment. But you owe me a very detailed explanation, Max. First thing tomorrow, he promised. And Lily, thank you for understanding. Chapter 7. Deeper into the maze. Thompson, the head of security, moved through Lily's apartment with practiced efficiency, directing his team to install small cameras at strategic points. Lily watched from her kitchen counter, clutching a fresh cup of coffee like a lifeline. These are motion-activated, Thompson explained, his voice steady and professional. They'll only record if there's unexpected movement. He pointed to a tiny sensor above her front door. We're setting up a complete security perimeter. Lily nodded numbly, still processing the surreal situation. Just days ago, her biggest worry had been making rent while finishing her degree. Now she had ex-military personnel installing surveillance equipment in her home. Ms. Cooper, another security team member approached, holding out a small device. This is a panic button. Keep it with you at all times. One press alerts the entire team. Her phone buzzed. Another message from Max. Coming up. Need to show you something important. Minutes later, a knock at her door made her jump. Thompson checked the security feed on his tablet, then opened it to reveal Max, looking more disheveled than she'd ever seen him. His usual perfectly pressed suit was wrinkled, and his dark hair showed signs of running his hands through it repeatedly. Lily, he said, his eyes filled with concern. How are you holding up? Oh, you know, she gestured around her apartment, now dotted with security equipment. Just living the dream of being in a spy movie. Max's lips twitched despite the tension. He carried a leather briefcase, which he set on her kitchen counter. I know this is a lot, but after what we found today, he pulled out a stack of folders, spreading them across the counter. These are records from my father's old business dealings, things that never made it into the official books. Lily leafed through the first folder, finding handwritten notes and faded receipts. Where did these come from? Sarah kept them, Max said quietly. I found them hidden in her apartment after she disappeared. I've been trying to make sense of them for years, but he ran a hand through his hair again. I'm too close to it. I need fresh eyes. Thompson appeared at Max's shoulder. Sir, the perimeter is secure. Team 2 is in position outside. Thank you, Max nodded. Maintain regular patrols. Lily picked up another folder, this one filled with what looked like shipping manifests. You want me to go through all of these? If you're willing, Max met her eyes. I know I'm asking a lot. If you want to walk away from all this, I'll understand. The security team will stay in place until we're certain there's no risk to you. Lily looked around her apartment, at the security cameras, the professional guards, the stack of mysterious documents. Her life had changed dramatically since that accidental text message. Part of her wanted to hand everything back to Max and return to her simple student life. But another part of her, The part that had always loved solving puzzles was already scanning the documents with interest. These shipping routes, she pointed to one manifest, they don't match up with the company's public records from that period. Max leaned in closer, his shoulder brushing hers as he studied the paper. That's exactly the kind of detail we need to find. Will you help me unravel this? Lily picked up another folder, already organizing the documents into categories in her mind. Where should I start? With these. Max pulled out a specific set of records. These are from the months leading up to Sarah's disappearance. If there are answers about what happened to her, they're in these papers. Lily's fingers traced over the yellowed pages, her eyes scanning dates and names until they suddenly froze on a familiar signature. Her heart skipped a beat. She knew that loopy handwriting, had seen it countless times in past notes during middle school. Sarah Elizabeth Hartley, she whispered, her voice trembling. Max looked up from his own stack of papers. Did you find something? Lily's hands shook as she pulled out her phone, quickly scrolling through her old photos until she found what she was looking for, a faded picture from 8th grade. Two girls with matching friendship bracelets smiled at the camera, their arms wrapped around each other's shoulders. Sarah, Max said, leaning closer to look at the photo. His face paled. You knew her? She was Sarah Bennett back then, Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. We were best friends in middle school. She just disappeared one day. Her mom said they were moving, but she never told me where. The memories came rushing back like a tidal wave. We used to have sleepovers every weekend. She loved strawberry Pop-Tarts and always saved one for me. Max sank into the chair beside her, running his hands through his hair. Bennett was our mother's maiden name. When the scandal hit, Father moved Sarah to a different school, changed her name back to Bennett to protect her. Lily's mind raced through forgotten memories, Sarah teaching her to braid hair during lunch breaks, sharing secrets under blanket forts, the way Sarah would doodle stars in the margins of her notebooks when she was worried about something. The last time I saw her, Lily continued, her voice thick with emotion, she was crying in the school bathroom. She wouldn't tell me what was wrong. I promised to call her that night, but when I did, the number was disconnected. She looked at Max, tears threatening to spill. I thought she just didn't want to be friends anymore. She wouldn't have left without saying goodbye, Max said softly. Not if she had a choice. Lily picked up another document, but her hands were trembling too much to read it clearly. Sarah's face kept flashing through her mind, not the sophisticated young woman from the missing person reports, but the 13-year-old girl who had been her closest friend. I should have looked harder for her, Lily said, wiping her eyes. I should have. You were just a kid, Max interrupted gently. None of this was your fault. Thompson appeared in the doorway. Sir, the evening patrol is starting their rounds. Max nodded, then turned back to Lily. Maybe you should take a break. This is a lot to process. But Lily was already reaching for another folder, her jaw set with determination despite her watery eyes. No, I need to do this. For Sarah. She picked up a document, forcing herself to focus on the words rather than the memories of shared secrets and pinky promises. She would have done the same for me. The weight of the past settled heavily on her shoulders as she continued reading. Every new document felt both like a step closer to the truth and a painful reminder of the friend she'd lost. But beneath the grief and shock, a fierce determination began to burn. Sarah hadn't abandoned their friendship. She'd been forced to leave it behind. And now, years later, Lily had a chance to uncover what really happened to her best friend. The brass nameplate on the mahogany door read, Walter Blackwood and Associates. Lily glanced at Max, noting the tension in his jaw as he straightened his tie. The hallway smelled of leather and old money, with its plush carpeting and oil paintings of stern-faced men. "Are you sure about this?" Lily whispered. "Walter was my father's closest business partner for 20 years, Max replied quietly. "If anyone knows something, it's him." They entered the office after a brisk knock. Walter Blackwood stood behind his desk, a man in his 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. His smile didn't reach those calculating eyes. "Maxwell," he said warmly, though his posture remained stiff. "What a surprise. And who might this young lady be?" "This is Lily Chen, my assistant," Max said, his hand briefly touching Lily's back as they moved toward the leather chairs facing Walter's desk. Walter's eyes narrowed slightly. "Ah, yes. I've heard about you, Miss Chen. Quite the rising star at Hartley Corp, from what I understand." Lily forced a polite smile, trying to ignore the way Walter seemed to be studying her, like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. "We need to talk about Sarah," Max said, getting straight to the point. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Walter's pleasant expression hardened as he lowered himself into his chair. "Maxwell, we've been through this. That was a terrible time for everyone, but dredging up the past won't change anything." "We found new information," Max pressed, "about the weeks before she disappeared." Walter's fingers drummed on his desk. "Your father made his peace with what happened. Perhaps you should do the same." Lily leaned forward. "Mr. Blackwood, anything you remember could help, even small details. And why exactly are you involved in this family matter, Miss Chen?" Walter's tone was sharp enough to cut glass. "Because Sarah was my friend," Lily said firmly, "before she disappeared." Walter's eyebrows shot up, and for a moment, his composed facade cracked. He looked at Lily more intently now, something like recognition flickering across his face. "Chen," he muttered. "Related to James Chen, perhaps?" "He's my father," Lily answered, surprised. "Did you know him?" Walter's laugh was hollow. "Oh, I knew James quite well. He was instrumental in certain events that summer. The summer everything changed." Max leaned forward. "What do you mean? What did James Chen have to do with any of this?" Walter stood abruptly, walking to his window. "I think you should leave now. Both of you. Some doors are better left closed, Maxwell. You of all people should understand that." "Walter, please," Max started, but the older man cut him off with a wave of his hand. "Ask your father about Project Nightshade," Walter said, still facing the window. "And Miss Chen? Ask yours about July 15th, 1999. That's all I'll say on the matter." Lily felt her stomach twist. July 15th. That was the day before Sarah disappeared. "Now, if you'll excuse me," Walter said, turning back to them with his professional mask firmly in place. "I have another appointment." As they walked out of the office, Lily's mind was spinning. Her father had always told her he'd never had any dealings with the Hartleys. But Walter's words suggested otherwise, and his reaction when he realized who she was had been too genuine to be fake. "Max," she said quietly as they waited for the elevator, "why would my father lie about knowing your family?" Lily sat cross-legged on her friend Rachel's couch, clutching a steaming mug of tea. The afternoon sun filtered through the apartment windows, casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. She'd known Rachel since freshman year, and if anyone could help her make sense of everything, it would be her level-headed friend. "Let me get this straight," Rachel said, tucking her dark curls behind her ear. "You're working for this gorgeous billionaire, helping him solve his sister's disappearance, and now you find out your dad might be involved somehow?" Lily nodded, taking a careful sip of her chamomile tea. "I know it sounds crazy, but you should have seen Walter Blackwood's face when he realized who I was. He knew something. Something big." "And how do you feel about Max in all this?" Rachel asked, her eyes soft with concern. Lily set her mug down on the coffee table, watching the steam curl up into the air. That's the complicated part. He's different from what I expected. Kind, genuine. When he talks about his sister, you can see how much it hurts him. But his family has secrets. Big ones. And now it turns out my family might be tangled up in them too. Lily pulled her knees up to her chest. Every time I think I understand what's happening, there's another layer of mystery. Rachel reached over and squeezed her hand. You like him, don't you? Lily's phone buzzed, interrupting her response. It was a text from Max. Would you like to come over for dinner tonight? Just us. No mystery solving, I promise. Rachel peered at the message and grinned. Well, speak of the devil. I shouldn't go, Lily said, but her fingers were already hovering over the keyboard. Why not? Because... Lily struggled to find the right words. Because every time I'm around him, I feel like I'm getting pulled deeper into something I don't fully understand. And the way he looks at me sometimes... Like what? Like he sees something in me that I don't even see in myself. Lily ran a hand through her hair. But how can I trust that when there are so many secrets between us? Rachel took a thoughtful sip of her own tea. Maybe that's exactly why you should go. Get to know him outside of all this drama. See who Max really is when he's not being the mysterious billionaire with a missing sister. Lily's phone buzzed again. I make a mean pasta carbonara, and I promise, no talk about Walter Blackwood or old business deals. A smile tugged at her lips despite her reservations. She typed back, Okay, what time? His response was immediate. 7 o'clock. I'll send a car. You're going, aren't you? Rachel asked, though it wasn't really a question. Yeah, Lily admitted. I am. Good. Rachel collected their mugs and headed to the kitchen. Just be careful, okay? Not because I think Max is dangerous, but because I can see how much you care about him already. Lily nodded, feeling the familiar weight of uncertainty settle in her chest. She wanted to believe that tonight could just be dinner with Max. No family secrets, no mysterious disappearances, no complicated connections. But as she gathered her things to head home and get ready, she knew better. Whatever was growing between them was already too entangled with the past to be simple. Still, she found herself looking forward to seeing him, even as questions about her father's involvement in Sarah's disappearance lingered in the back of her mind. The aroma of fresh pasta and garlic filled Max's modern kitchen. Lily sat at the marble island counter, watching as he moved confidently around the space, stirring the carbonara with practiced ease. His sleeves were rolled up, and his usual business demeanor had softened into something more casual, more real. I didn't know CEOs could cook, Lily teased, sipping the wine he'd poured her. Max smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling. There's a lot you don't know about me yet. He plated the pasta with careful attention, garnishing each dish with fresh parsley and cracked black pepper. My mother insisted we learn, said it was important to know how to take care of ourselves, regardless of our wealth. They moved to his dining room, where floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of the city lights below. The table was set simply but elegantly, with flickering candles casting a warm glow across the polished wood. This is amazing, Lily said after her first bite, genuinely impressed. The pasta was perfectly al dente, the sauce rich and creamy. Thank you. Max twirled pasta around his fork, hesitating for a moment. Lily, there's something I need to tell you. She felt her stomach tighten at his tone. What is it? I haven't been entirely honest about why I responded to your accidental text that day. He set down his fork, his expression turning serious. Your last name. Winters. I recognized it immediately. Lily's fork paused halfway to her mouth. What do you mean? Your father, Daniel Winters. I've been trying to find him for the past 3 years. Max's voice was gentle but firm. He disappeared shortly after a failed business deal with my father's company, the same year my sister went missing. The pasta suddenly felt heavy in Lily's stomach. My father… What? He was working on a joint venture with Hartley Industries. Something went wrong, badly wrong. The deal fell apart, and within a week both he and Sarah were gone. Max reached for his wine glass but didn't drink. When I saw your message, saw your name, I couldn't believe the coincidence. Lily set down her fork, her appetite vanishing. So you offered me the job because of my father? Initially, yes, Max admitted, meeting her eyes. But Lily, everything since then, getting to know you, working with you, that's been real. More real than I expected? The candlelight flickered across his face, casting shadows that made him harder to read. Lily's mind raced, trying to process this new information. Her father's disappearance had always been a painful mystery, one her mother refused to discuss. Now, sitting across from Max, she felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. Why didn't you tell me this before? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to, but I needed to be sure about certain things first, about the connections, about what really happened. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. Lily, I think your father's disappearance and Sarah's are connected. The timing, the circumstances, it's too perfect to be coincidence. Lily pushed her plate away, feeling suddenly cold despite the warm evening. The man sitting across from her, who had become so important to her over the past weeks, now seemed like a stranger. Yet his face showed the same warmth, the same genuine concern she'd come to trust. I don't know what to think, she said honestly, her voice shaking slightly. All this time you've been investigating my father? Not investigating, searching, just like I've been searching for Sarah. Max reached across the table, but stopped short of touching her hand. I think together, we might be able to find them both. Lily stared at his outstretched hand, torn between the pull of their growing connection and the weight of these new revelations. The past she'd tried so hard to leave behind was suddenly front and center, wrapped up in the man she'd been falling for. Lily pushed back her chair, needing space to think. The city lights twinkled behind her through the floor-to-ceiling windows, but she barely noticed them. Her mind was racing, trying to piece together this new reality where Max Hartley wasn't just her boss or potential romantic interest, but someone who had been investigating her family all along. So every interaction we've had, she said slowly, wrapping her arms around herself. Was it all just part of your investigation? Max stood up too, but kept his distance, seeming to understand her need for space. No, Lily. The job offer? Yes, I'll admit that was calculated. But everything else… He ran a hand through his dark hair, looking more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. Everything else has been real. Real? Her laugh was hollow. How can any of this be real when you've been keeping such huge secrets? I know I should have told you sooner, Max admitted, his voice tight with regret. But the more I got to know you, the harder it became to find the right moment. I didn't want to hurt you. Well, congratulations, Lily said bitterly. You failed at that. The silence between them grew thick with unspoken words. A car honked somewhere in the streets below, the sound muffled by the height of the penthouse. My father disappeared without a trace, Lily finally said, her voice cracking. Do you know what that did to our family? To my mother? To me? We never got answers, never got closure, And now you're telling me you've been looking into it this whole time? Max took a cautious step forward. Lily, I've been trying to understand what happened to both our families. My sister vanished, your father disappeared. There has to be a connection. The timing is too perfect. And what about my safety? Lily demanded. If this is all connected to some big conspiracy, those black cars outside my apartment, am I in danger because you dragged me into this? I would never let anything happen to you, Max said firmly. His eyes met hers, intense and sincere. The security detail is there to protect you, not to spy on you. I've been trying to keep you safe while I figure out how deep this goes. Lily moved to the window, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. Her reflection stared back at her, looking lost and confused. I don't know if I can trust you anymore, Max. She heard his footsteps approach, slow and measured. I understand that, but Lily, I'm asking you to give me a chance to explain everything. No more secrets, no more half-truths. I'll tell you everything I know about your father's disappearance, about Sarah, about the business deals that went wrong. Why should I believe you now? She asked, turning to face him. Because despite everything, you know me, Max said softly. The real me, not just the CEO or the man looking for his sister. You've seen who I really am, and I've seen who you are. Help me uncover the truth about what happened to your father, and I promise you'll know everything I know. Lily studied his face, searching for any sign of deception. Instead, she saw the same warmth that had drawn her to him from the beginning. The same genuine concern that had made her trust him in the first place. But now that trust was fragile, hanging by a thread. Everything? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Everything, Max confirmed, taking another step closer. No more secrets between us. The morning light filtered through the office windows as Lily sat at her desk, staring at her computer screen. The files she and Max had carefully gathered over the past weeks had vanished from the secure server. Her hands trembled as she double-checked every folder, every backup location. Everything's gone, she muttered, pressing her fingers against her temples. Max burst through the door of her office, his usual composed demeanor replaced by barely contained anger. Someone accessed the server last night. They knew exactly what they were looking for. All our research, Lily's voice trailed off. Months of digging through old records, piecing together connections, and tracking down leads, all erased in a single night. Could it have been an outside hack? Max shook his head, pacing the length of her office. The security team confirmed it was an internal breach, someone with high-level access. He stopped and leaned against her desk, his knuckles white as he gripped the edge. Someone inside the company is working against us. Lily felt a chill run down her spine. She'd spent the last few months learning to navigate the corporate world, trying to believe in Max's intentions. And now this. Do you have any idea who it might be? I have my suspicions, Max said, his jaw clenched. But without proof, I can't move against anyone. These people are powerful, connected. One wrong move, and what? Lily stood up, frustrated. More files disappear? More leads go cold? Max, we're not getting anywhere. Every time we think we're close to something, it slips away. She walked to the window, watching the bustling city below. People going about their normal lives, while hers had become entangled in a web of corporate intrigue and family secrets. Maybe this is a sign we should stop. Stop? Max's voice rose slightly. Lily, we can't stop now. We're close to something. That's why they're trying to shut us down. Are we really close to anything? She turned to face him. Or are we just seeing patterns where there aren't any? Your sister, my father. Maybe there is no connection. Maybe we're just two people desperate for answers that don't exist. Max stepped toward her, but she held up a hand to keep him at a distance. I need space, she said quietly. This is all becoming too much. The security detail watching my every move. The constant paranoia about who we can trust. The dead ends. I understand it's difficult, Max said softly. But we can't give up. Not when we might be close to the truth. Lily felt tears pricking at her eyes. The truth? Max, look at us. We're chasing shadows, and it's consuming everything. I can barely sleep. I'm jumping at every strange noise, and I don't know who to trust anymore, including you. The hurt in Max's eyes was evident, but Lily couldn't take back the words. They hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. I thought... She paused, gathering her thoughts. I thought I could handle this. The investigation, the secrets, all of it. But now, someone in your own company is actively working against us. How am I supposed to feel safe here? Max remained silent, his expression troubled. Lily gathered her purse from her desk, needing to escape the suffocating atmosphere of the office. I need time to think, she said, moving toward the door. About all of this. About whether I can keep doing this. She left Max standing in her office, feeling the weight of his gaze on her back as she walked away. The elevator ride down felt endless, and with each floor the question grew louder in her mind. Was uncovering the truth worth the cost to her peace of mind, her security, and possibly her heart? Lily sat in her apartment that evening, a cup of untouched tea growing cold on the coffee table. The events from earlier at the office still weighed heavily on her mind. Her laptop lay closed beside her. She couldn't bring herself to look at work after everything that had happened. The sharp ring of her phone made her jump. An unknown number flashed across the screen. Usually she'd let it go to voicemail, but something made her answer. Hello? She said hesitantly. There was a pause, then a gravelly voice spoke. Is this Lily Chen? Yes. Who is this? Someone who knows what happened to Thomas Chen. The voice was male, older, with an edge that made her skin prickle. Lily's heart stopped. She hadn't heard her father's name spoken by a stranger in years. Her hands began to shake as she gripped the phone tighter. What do you know about my father? The Hartleys aren't what they seem, the voice continued, ignoring her question. Your father discovered something he shouldn't have. Something about their overseas operations. Please, Lily's voice cracked. Tell me what you know. Where is he? Watch yourself, Miss Chen. You're asking the same questions he did. Wait. Lily stood up, pacing her living room. Don't hang up. Please, I need to know. The line went dead. Lily stared at her phone, her whole body trembling. She tried calling the number back, but it went straight to voicemail. Tears welled up in her eyes as she sank back onto her couch, wrapping her arms around herself. Without thinking, she called Max. He answered on the first ring. Lily, are you okay? Someone just called, she said, her voice shaking. They knew about my father, Max. They mentioned your family's overseas operations. I'm coming over, he said immediately. Don't go anywhere. I'll be there in 15 minutes. True to his word, Max arrived quickly, still in his work clothes. He found Lily exactly where she'd been since the call, curled up on her couch. She looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes. Tell me exactly what they said, Max said, sitting beside her. Lily recounted the brief conversation, watching Max's expression grow more serious with each word. When she finished, he ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she'd come to recognize as a sign of deep concern. This proves we're getting closer, he said finally. Someone's worried enough to try to scare you off. It's working, Lily admitted. I'm terrified. What if what happened to my father? Max reached out and took her hand, squeezing it gently. I won't let anything happen to you, Lily. We're in this together now. But all our research is gone, she said, wiping away a stray tear. "We'll start again," Max said firmly. "This caller just confirmed what we suspected. There's a connection between your father's disappearance and my family's business dealings. We're on the right track." Lily looked at their joined hands, feeling the warmth of his touch anchoring her. Despite her fear, despite the setbacks, she knew she couldn't walk away now. Not when they might be close to answers about her father. "Okay," she said softly. "We keep going. But Max?" She met his eyes. "No more secrets between us. We share everything we find, no matter how small." "I promise," Max said, his expression sincere. "We'll find the truth together." Chapter 16. The Transaction. Scene 1. Lily's eyes burned from staring at her computer screen for hours. She'd been combing through old financial records Max had managed to recover, cross-referencing dates and names until they blurred together. The security team Max assigned to her apartment stood guard outside, their presence a constant reminder of the stakes involved. She took another sip of coffee, grimacing at the cold liquid. As she scrolled through another spreadsheet, something caught her eye. A transaction from 15 years ago, the same year her father disappeared. "Wait a minute," she muttered, sitting up straighter. The transaction was labeled as a consulting fee to Chen International, her father's old company, but the amount was staggering. $10 million. Her father's company had never dealt with amounts that large. Her hands shaking slightly, Lily opened another document, a list of overseas property acquisitions by Hartley Industries during the same period. There it was, a purchase in Singapore, dated just 3 days after the consulting fee. "Oh my God," she whispered, her heart racing. She grabbed her phone and called Max. When he answered, she could barely contain her excitement. "Max, I found something. You need to see this now." "I'll be right there," he said without hesitation. 20 minutes later, Max sat beside her on the couch, leaning in to look at her laptop screen. Lily pointed to the transaction. "Look at this payment to my father's company," she said. $10 million for consulting services. But my father's company never handled international deals this big." Max frowned, studying the numbers. "This was just before we acquired the Singapore property." "Exactly," Lily said, pulling up another document. "And look at this. 3 days later, Hartley Industries bought land in Singapore for development. But here's the thing. The property value was listed at $50 million. "That seems low for that area," Max said slowly. "Because it was worth nearly twice that amount," Lily said, showing him a real estate assessment from the same year. "The difference between the actual value and the recorded purchase price is roughly $40 million, Max finished, his eyes widening, the exact amount that disappeared from our accounts that quarter. Lily nodded eagerly. "Your father used my dad's company as a front for moving money around, but I think my father figured it out." She pulled up one more document, a series of emails between her father and Hartley Industries' legal department. These emails stop abruptly 2 days before he disappeared. Max stood up and paced the room, running his hands through his hair. "This is it, Lily. This is the connection we've been looking for. My father must have used your dad's company to launder money through overseas properties. And when my father threatened to expose it," Lily's voice trailed off. Max turned to her, his expression a mix of joy and concern. "This is exactly what we needed. But Lily—" He sat back down beside her, taking her hands in his. "If my father really did what we think he did, this is going to get dangerous. Very dangerous. We're not just dealing with a missing person case anymore. We're looking at international financial fraud." "I know," Lily said quietly, squeezing his hands. "But we can't stop now. Not when we're so close to finding out what happened to my father." "We'll need to be extremely careful from here on out," Max said, his thumbs tracing circles on her palms. "My father has powerful friends, and they won't want this exposed. The mahogany doors of Richard Hartley's study loomed before them, impossibly tall and imposing. Max squeezed Lily's hand one last time before letting go. His jaw was set with determination as he knocked on the door. "Come in," called a commanding voice from inside. They entered the study, where Richard Hartley sat behind an enormous desk, reading glasses perched on his nose as he reviewed some papers. He looked up, his expression shifting from mild interest to wariness when he saw Lily. "Maxwell," he said carefully, "I wasn't expecting you today. And Ms. Chen, what a surprise." "We need to talk, Father," Max said, his voice steady but firm. "About Singapore." Richard's hand twitched slightly, but his face remained neutral. "Singapore? That development project was years ago. What could possibly be relevant now?" Lily stepped forward, placing a folder on his desk. "The consulting fees paid to Chen International, Mr. Hartley. $10 million for services never rendered." "I don't know what you're implying," Richard said, not touching the folder. "Your father's company provided valuable consultation for our expansion into Asia." "My father's company never handled international real estate," Lily countered, "and we both know that property was worth nearly twice what Hartley Industries paid for it on paper." Richard's eyes narrowed. "You're digging into matters you don't understand, young lady." "I understand perfectly," Max interrupted, placing his hands on his father's desk and leaning forward. "You used Chen International to launder money through overseas properties. When Mr. Chen threatened to expose you, he disappeared, just like Sarah did when she started asking questions about the company's finances." Color drained from Richard's face. "Your sister's disappearance was a tragedy, but it had nothing to do with the business." "Then why did she vanish right after that audit she was conducting?" Max demanded. "The same audit that would have exposed the Singapore deal?" Richard stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "You're connecting dots that don't exist. Sarah was troubled. She left of her own accord." "With no money, no passport, no contact with anyone?" Lily asked. "Just like my father?" "I won't stand here and be accused by a girl who's clearly manipulating my son with these conspiracy theories." Richard snapped. "Your father was a failing businessman who couldn't handle his debts. He probably ran off to avoid his creditors." "My father didn't have any debts," Lily said firmly. "His company was small but successful until that suspicious $10 million showed up in his accounts." "If Sarah really left on her own," Max added, "why did you send Jensen to clean out her apartment before the police could investigate?" Richard's face twitched. "I never sent Jensen to her apartment. He was in Malaysia that week, overseeing the Kuala Lumpur project." Max and Lily exchanged a quick glance. They hadn't mentioned when Sarah disappeared. "I never said which week Sarah vanished, Father," Max said quietly. Richard's composed facade cracked for just a moment. He reached for his desk drawer, but Max was faster, stepping forward to block him. "The truth, Father. Now." Richard sank back into his chair, suddenly looking older. "Jensen was supposed to just scare them off. Sarah and Mr. Chen, they were going to ruin everything we'd built. They didn't understand that sometimes in business, you have to bend the rules." "Where did Jensen take them?" Lily asked, her heart pounding. Richard's lips pressed into a thin line. "I don't know the details. Jensen handled everything through his contacts in Singapore. All I know is they were supposed to be held at the old rubber plantation until they agreed to stay quiet." He glanced at his watch. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a board meeting to attend." Max paced the length of his office, running his hands through his dark hair. The setting sun cast long shadows across the room, matching his darkening mood. Lily sat in one of the leather chairs, spreading documents across his desk. "Look at these dates," she said, pointing to a series of transactions. "The money transfer to my father's company happened 2 days before Sarah started her audit. Then, 3 days after both of them disappeared, Your father's company acquired that Singapore property at half its market value. Max stopped pacing and leaned over the documents. And here's the payment to Jensen's security firm, disguised as a consulting fee. His voice cracked slightly. He used company funds to pay for their disappearance. Lily pulled up another document on her laptop. Your father knew my dad would never agree to participate in money laundering, so he created a paper trail that made it look like my father was the mastermind. She swallowed hard. The transfer to Chen International wasn't a payment. It was a setup. My own father, Max whispered, sinking into his chair. He framed an innocent man and had his own daughter. He couldn't finish the sentence. Lily reached across the desk and squeezed his hand. The rubber plantation your father mentioned. I found it. It's an abandoned property owned by one of Hartley Industries' shell companies. Max stared at their joined hands, his face a mask of pain. All these years, I thought Sarah had just run away. I believed him when he said she was troubled, that she needed time. He pulled his hand away and stood up, walking to the window. I defended him to the board, to the press, to everyone. I became exactly what he wanted, the perfect son, carrying on the family legacy. Max, Lily said softly, you couldn't have known. He turned back to face her, his eyes fierce. But I should have. Sarah tried to tell me something was wrong with the books. She came to me first, but I was too busy trying to prove myself to Father. His voice was thick with regret. I told her she was being paranoid. What are you going to do? Lily asked, watching him carefully. Max walked back to the desk and picked up the folder containing all their evidence. His hands were steady, but his voice trembled slightly. Everything my father built, everything I thought we stood for, it's all been a lie. He squared his shoulders. I'm going to make this right. The board meeting, Lily realized. He's presenting the quarterly results today. Yes, Max nodded. And I'm going to be there with all of this. He held up the folder. Every transaction, every shell company, every cover-up. The board needs to know the truth about Richard Hartley. It could destroy the company, Lily warned. Your family's reputation. My family's reputation was destroyed the moment my father chose power over his own children. Max's voice was firm now. I won't protect him anymore. Sarah and your father deserve justice. He gathered the documents into his briefcase, his movements precise and determined. The Hartley name might stand for corruption and greed right now, but I'm going to change that, even if I have to tear down everything my father built to do it. The abandoned rubber plantation loomed before them, a sprawling complex of dilapidated buildings covered in thick jungle vines. Max's SUV kicked up red dust as they pulled into what remained of the parking lot. The humid air clung to their skin as they stepped out. Sarah mentioned this place in her last email, Max said, checking the coordinates on his phone. Building C, that's where the financial records were kept. Lily squinted at the faded lettering on the concrete structures. There. She pointed to a building with peeling green paint. That must be it. They made their way through the overgrown path, their footsteps crunching on dead leaves. Max's security team had swept the area earlier, but he still kept close to Lily, protective. The door creaked open with a rusty protest. Inside, sunlight filtered through broken windows, illuminating dancing dust particles. Filing cabinets lined the walls, their metal surfaces orange with rust. Max pulled out a flashlight. The record should be from 1995, Lily said, moving to the first cabinet. That's when the original deal was made. They worked methodically, pulling out drawer after drawer. The musty smell of old paper filled their lungs. After an hour of searching, Lily's hand stopped on a thick folder labeled Chen International, Special Projects. Max, she called out, her voice tight with anticipation. I found something. He hurried over, shining his light on the documents as she spread them on a nearby desk. The papers were yellowed but legible. Lily's fingers trembled as she traced the lines of text. "These are the original contracts," she breathed. "Look at the signatures." She pointed to the bottom of one page. "That's not my father's signature. I'd know it anywhere. This is forged." Max leaned in closer, his jaw tightening. "And here's the proof. The money wasn't transferred to Chen International at all. It was diverted through a series of shell companies." He flipped through more pages. "All controlled by Jensen and—" He stopped, his face going pale. "What is it?" "Thomas Crawford, my father's closest friend and business partner." Max's voice was bitter. He was the one who suggested hiring Jensen's security firm. Lily pulled out more documents, laying them side by side. "They planned it all. Crawford created the fake paper trail, Jensen handled the disappearances, and your father provided the cover story." She looked up at Max. "They needed my father gone because he discovered their embezzlement scheme. And Sarah, she found the same evidence we're holding right now," Max finished, his hands clenching into fists. "They couldn't risk her exposing them." A metallic thud echoed from somewhere in the building. Max immediately pulled Lily behind him, his body tense. Footsteps approached their room. "Mr. Hartley," a voice called out. It was Rogers, head of Max's security team. "We found something in the basement. You need to see this." They followed Rogers down a narrow stairwell, flashlight beams bouncing off concrete walls. The basement was cooler, filled with more filing cabinets and a large safe in the corner. "The safe was hidden behind a false wall," Rogers explained. "We only found it because part of the wall had crumbled." Max examined the safe's digital keypad. After a moment's hesitation, he punched in a series of numbers. "Sarah's birthday," he explained as the safe clicked open. Inside, they found a USB drive, more documents, and a handwritten journal. Lily picked up the journal, recognizing Sarah's neat handwriting. Max took the USB drive, his hand steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "This is everything," he said quietly. "Sarah's original audit records, the real transaction logs, even recorded conversations." He looked at Lily. "We can prove your father's innocence. We can prove all of it." The leather chairs in Max's office felt too soft, too comfortable for the weight of the moment. Lily watched as he methodically arranged the evidence on his mahogany desk. Sarah's journal, the USB drive, and stacks of damning documents from the plantation. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, studying his face in the warm afternoon light streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Max straightened his tie, a gesture that seemed more about steadying his nerves than fixing his appearance. "They'll be here in 20 minutes. Father, Crawford, and Jensen, all of them." His voice was tight but determined. "Rogers has security positioned throughout the building. They won't be able to leave until we're finished." Lily stood up, smoothing her pencil skirt. "What if they deny everything?" "They can't." Max pulled up the audio files they'd found on the USB drive. Sarah's voice, clear and determined, filled the room as she detailed the fraud she'd uncovered. "The evidence is irrefutable." A gentle knock interrupted them. Rogers entered, his usual stoic expression in place. "They're early, sir. All three of them are in the lobby." Max nodded, squaring his shoulders. "Send them up." He turned to Lily, his eyes softening. "You don't have to stay for this." "Yes, I do," she said firmly. "My father deserves justice. Sarah deserves justice." The elevator dinged, and footsteps echoed down the hallway. Max's father entered first, tall and imposing in his tailored suit. Thomas Crawford followed, his silver hair perfectly styled, while Jensen brought up the rear, looking uncomfortable in business attire. "Maxwell?" his father said warmly, though his eyes darted to the documents on the desk. "What's this urgent meeting about?" Max remained standing, his hands resting on the desk. "We found the rubber plantation, Father. Building C. Sarah's records, all of it." The color drained from Crawford's face. Jensen took an unconscious step backward, but Max's father merely raised an eyebrow. "I'm not sure what you're talking about, son." Max played the audio file. Sarah's voice filled the room again, detailing dates, transactions, and names. Max's father sank into a chair, his facade cracking. "You forged Richard Chen's signature," Lily said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You embezzled millions through shell companies, and when my father discovered it, you had him eliminated." "You don't understand," Crawford burst out, sweat beading on his forehead. "The company was facing bankruptcy. We had no choice." "Shut up, Thomas," Max's father snapped. He looked at his son, something like defeat crossing his face. "How long have you known?" "Long enough." Max spread out the documents. "Sarah found the evidence first. That's why she disappeared, isn't it? Jensen's team took care of that too." Jensen shifted uncomfortably. "I just followed orders. Nothing personal." "Nothing personal?" Max's voice rose. "She was my sister, and Richard Chen was an innocent man." "The company would have collapsed," Max's father said quietly. "Thousands of jobs lost, sometimes difficult decisions." "Don't." Max's word cut through the air like a knife. "Don't you dare try to justify this. Sarah trusted you. I trusted you." He pressed a button on his desk. "Rogers?" The door opened, and several security officers entered. Behind them stood 2 police detectives. Max's father looked at his son, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time. "I never wanted to hurt Sarah," he said softly. "She wasn't supposed to be involved." "But she was," Max replied, "and now you'll face the consequences." The detectives moved forward, reading rights and applying handcuffs. Crawford began to weep quietly. Jensen went without resistance, his face blank. Max's father stood tall, dignity intact even in defeat. "I'm sorry, son," he said as they led him away. "I truly am." The office fell silent except for the fading footsteps in the hallway. Lily moved to Max's side, touching his arm gently. He covered her hand with his own, and they stood together, watching the sun set over the city through the window, the weight of justice finally settling around them. The city lights twinkled like fallen stars beneath Max's office window. 3 days had passed since the arrests, but newspaper headlines still blazed with the scandal. Lily stood next to Max, their shoulders touching as they gazed out at the skyline. "I keep thinking about that first text message," Lily said softly, a hint of wonder in her voice. "How different everything would be if I hadn't sent it to the wrong number." Max turned to her, his tie loosened and sleeves rolled up. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, but there was a lightness to him now, as if a great burden had lifted. "Sometimes the best things in life come from accidents." "I was so nervous that first video call," Lily admitted, smiling at the memory. "I thought you might be some kind of scammer. And I thought you were too good to be true." Max's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining naturally. "I never expected to find someone who would help me uncover the truth about my family." Lily squeezed his hand. "I never expected to find answers about my father. All these years I thought he'd abandoned us." "We both found more than we were looking for." Max led her to the leather couch, where they sat close together. The office was quiet, except for the gentle hum of the air conditioning. "What happens now?" Lily asked, looking at their joined hands. "The company." "We'll survive," Max said firmly. "We'll restructure, make things right. The board is already working on a compensation package for your family." "I don't care about the money," Lily said. "I just want—" "What?" "To know what comes next, for us." Max turned to face her fully, his expression serious but tender. I know we started this as boss and employee, then became partners in solving a mystery. But somewhere along the way, a soft chime from Max's phone interrupted them. He glanced at it, then froze, his face paling slightly. "Max, what is it?" His voice was barely a whisper. "It's Sarah." Lily leaned closer, reading the text message on his screen. "Max, I saw the news. I'm so sorry for running away, for leaving you to deal with everything alone. Can we talk?" Max's hands trembled slightly as he read the message again. She's been alive all this time, hiding. "She was scared," Lily said gently. "After what she discovered, what Father did." "I know." Max ran a hand through his hair. "I just missed her so much." Another message appeared. "I'm in the city. Coffee tomorrow? Like we used to at Marina's?" Max looked at Lily, uncertainty in his eyes. She nodded encouragingly. "Go, she's reaching out, that's huge." He typed a reply. "I'll be there. 10 a.m.? The response came quickly. "Thank you, little brother. I have so much to explain. And I'd like to meet Lily someday. The papers say she helped you find the truth." Max's eyes welled with tears, and Lily wrapped her arms around him. He leaned into her embrace, letting out a shaky breath. "She wants to come back," he whispered against Lily's shoulder. "After all this time." "One step at a time," Lily murmured, running her fingers through his hair. "We'll figure it out together." Max pulled back slightly, cupping Lily's face in his hands. "Together," he repeated, like a promise. In the quiet of the office, with the city glittering below and the weight of secrets finally lifted, they held each other, knowing that whatever came next, they wouldn't face it alone. Marina's coffee shop buzzed with the gentle murmur of morning conversations. Sarah sat across from Max, her hands wrapped around a steaming mug, looking older, but still bearing the same kind eyes he remembered. Lily watched from 2 tables away, giving the siblings space while staying close enough for support. "I should have reached out sooner," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "When I discovered what Father was doing, I just ran. I couldn't face it." Max nodded, his coffee untouched. "I understand now. But all those years, Sarah, I thought something terrible had happened to you." "I know." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I was young and scared. By the time I realized what I'd done to you, the shame kept me away." Lily noticed Max's shoulders tense, the way they always did when he was holding back strong emotions. She resisted the urge to go to him, knowing they needed this moment. "Father's actions weren't your fault," Max said softly. "None of us saw the truth until Lily helped uncover it." Sarah glanced at Lily with grateful eyes. "She seems special." "She is." Max's expression softened. "She showed me that running from the truth only makes it harder to face." Over the next hour, Sarah shared her story, how she'd built a new life in Seattle, married, had 2 children. Max listened intently, occasionally wiping his eyes. When their mother arrived, tentatively joining them at the table, Lily saw the first real steps of healing begin. Later that week, the Hartley family gathered at Max's penthouse. Lily helped prepare dinner, moving easily through the kitchen while Max's mother shared old family recipes. Sarah's children played in the living room, their laughter filling the space with new life. "I never thought I'd see this again," Max's mother said, watching her grandchildren. "My family together." Lily squeezed her hand. "Sometimes we need to break apart to come back stronger." Max stood in the doorway, watching them with wonder in his eyes. The weight of secrets that had haunted him for so long was finally lifting. His father's actions had torn them apart. But here they were, choosing to rebuild. Sarah approached him, holding out a photo album. Remember these? Inside were pictures from their childhood, birthday parties, beach trips, moments frozen in time before everything fell apart. We can't get those years back, Sarah said, but maybe we can make new memories. Max pulled his sister into a tight hug. I'd like that. As evening settled over the city, the family shared stories over dinner. There were difficult moments. Mentions of their father brought tension, and some wounds were still raw. But Lily watched as they faced each memory together, no longer running from the past. After everyone left, Max and Lily stood on his balcony. The spring air was cool, carrying the scent of blooming flowers from the rooftop garden. Thank you, Max said, wrapping his arms around her from behind, for showing me how to face the truth, for helping my family find their way back to each other. Lily leaned back against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart. You did the hard part. You chose to forgive. I learned that from you. Max turned her to face him. When you discovered your father was innocent, you could have been angry at my family. Instead, you helped us heal. Lily touched his face gently. We both learned that holding on to anger only hurts ourselves. They stood in comfortable silence, the city lights twinkling around them. In just a few months, they'd gone from strangers connected by a wrong number to partners who had uncovered life-changing truths. Now, watching Max's family begin to heal, Lily felt a deep sense of peace. It's beautiful, she said softly. Seeing your family come together again? Max's arms tightened around her. Our family, he corrected gently. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Max's office, casting a warm glow over the conference table where Lily sat reviewing quarterly reports. 6 months had passed since the truth about their families came to light, and the company was thriving under their combined leadership. These numbers look promising, Lily said, highlighting a section of the report. The new ethical investment strategy is paying off. Max leaned over her shoulder, his presence familiar and comforting. Thanks to your insight, you saw potential in areas we'd overlooked. Well, fresh eyes and all that. Lily smiled, remembering how far she'd come from that accidental text message. Now she confidently led meetings and managed major projects, her natural talent for business finally finding its place. Sarah, who had recently joined the company's board of directors, knocked on the door. Sorry to interrupt, but the Thompson deal needs immediate attention. I've got it, Lily said, gathering her materials. It's right up my alley. Max watched with pride as Lily took charge, outlining her strategy to Sarah. Gone was the uncertain college graduate. In her place stood a confident businesswoman who had earned every bit of respect she commanded. Later that afternoon, they walked through the company's rooftop garden, a project Lily had spearheaded to create a peaceful space for employees. The spring breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers, and the city stretched out before them. Remember when you thought my job offer was a prank? Max asked, taking her hand. Lily laughed. Can you blame me? A wrong number turning into a job offer from a billionaire CEO? It sounded ridiculous. And now look at you. The board can't stop singing your praises after the Asian market expansion. It helps that I have a pretty good mentor. Lily bumped his shoulder playfully. Max stopped walking, turning to face her. You're way past needing a mentor, Lily. You've become an essential part of this company. More than that. He took both her hands in his. You've become an essential part of my life. The city noise faded away as Lily met his gaze. Even with all the family drama I brought along? Especially because of that, Max said softly. You helped me face the truth about my father, brought my sister back into my life, and showed me that business success means nothing without integrity. We helped each other, Lily corrected. Your support gave me the confidence to become who I am now. Max pulled her closer. I've been thinking about our future. Not just the company's future, but ours. Together. Oh? Lily's heart skipped a beat. I want to build something lasting with you, Lily. Something bigger than business deals and profit margins. His eyes held hers, sincere and full of emotion. I love you. Lily felt tears welling up. I love you too, Max. Despite everything. Or maybe because of everything we've been through. We make a pretty good team, Max said, smiling. In business and in life. We do. Lily squeezed his hands. And I want that future with you. All of it. They stood together, surrounded by the garden they'd created, looking out over the city that had watched their story unfold. Their past had been complicated, filled with family secrets and painful truths, but they'd faced it together. Now their future stretched before them, bright with possibility. The evening skyline glittered through the windows of Max's penthouse as guests mingled at the company's quarterly celebration. The room buzzed with energy and laughter, a stark contrast to the tension that had dominated these gatherings just months ago. Lily stood near the grand piano, chatting with Sarah, who had become not just Max's sister again, but also a dear friend. I still can't believe how much has changed, Sarah said, sipping her champagne. Last year I was hiding from my own family. Now look at us. You did the brave thing by coming back, Lily replied, watching Max across the room as he talked with the board members. He caught her eye and smiled warmly. The company's success was evident in more than just numbers. Employees moved about with genuine enthusiasm, sharing stories and ideas. The toxic culture that had existed under Max's father had been replaced by something authentic and vibrant. Max made his way through the crowd toward them. Sarah, would you mind if I borrowed Lily for a moment? Of course not. Sarah winked at Lily. She's all yours. Max led Lily to the balcony, where the spring evening air was crisp and sweet. The city stretched out below them, a tapestry of lights and possibility. Have I told you how proud I am of what we've accomplished? He asked. Only about a dozen times tonight, Lily teased, leaning into him. Well, it bears repeating. The Thompson deal, the Asian expansion, the new ethical guidelines, none of it would have happened without you. We did it together, Lily corrected him. That's what makes it special. Inside, they could see their families mingling. Sarah deep in conversation with Lily's mother, their fathers cautiously rebuilding bridges that had been burned years ago. The healing wasn't complete, but it was happening. One careful step at a time. Remember that first video call? Max asked, turning to face her. When you thought I might be an internet scammer? Lily laughed. How could I forget? I had 3 different friends on standby in case you turned out to be crazy. And now look at us. Max's eyes sparkled with affection. Partners in every way. We've come a long way from accidental text messages, Lily agreed, thinking about how that one mistake had changed everything. The sound of clinking glasses drew their attention back inside, where Sarah was preparing to make a toast. Max took Lily's hand, squeezing it gently. Shall we? They rejoined the party just as Sarah raised her glass. To new beginnings, she announced, and to the 2 people who made them possible, Max and Lily, thank you for showing us that it's never too late to right old wrongs and build something beautiful. The room erupted in applause, and Lily felt her heart swell with gratitude. She looked around at the faces, colleagues who had become friends, family members who had found their way back to each other, and Max, whose love and trust had made it all possible. As the evening wound down, Max and Lily took one last walk through the office floors below. The space had been transformed under their leadership, just as they had transformed each other's lives. Ready to go home? Max asked, taking her hand. With you? Always, Lily replied. They walked together through the quiet building, their footsteps echoing in the peaceful silence. The city lights twinkled beyond the windows, and their joined hands swung gently between them as they moved toward the exit. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities, but together, they were ready for whatever came next.